My name is Jake. I'm 25 and I honestly thought I had life figured out. 3 years with Sarah, my girlfriend who's 23, and I'd been secretly browsing engagement rings during my lunch breaks for weeks. She was everything I'd ever dreamed of. Brilliant, hilarious, drop-dead gorgeous, and someone I trusted with my entire heart. There was already a little velvet box hidden in my sock drawer, waiting for the perfect moment. Our apartment in downtown Dallas had become our little paradise. Sunday mornings with coffee in bed, binge-watching Netflix when it rained, talking for hours about the house we'd buy someday with a huge backyard for the golden retriever we'd already named Charlie. My life was perfect. I had no idea that Monday night was about to destroy everything. I was already in my pajamas, scrolling through my phone while Sarah slept peacefully beside me. Her auburn hair spread across the pillow like silk. The soft glow from my screen illuminated her face, and I couldn't help but smile. God, I loved this woman. Then I saw it, a notification that made my stomach drop. A message from Lindsay, my ex from college. Just seeing her name brought back this uncomfortable wave of anxiety and old hurt. We dated for 2 years in college, and it ended when she cheated on me with my roommate senior year. That betrayal had shattered my ability to trust anyone for years. It took me forever to open up to Sarah the way I had. The message was simple. Hey Jake, I've been thinking about you lately. I really miss what we had. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. Part of me wanted to just ignore it, pretend I'd never seen it. But I've always tried to be a decent person, so I felt like I should at least acknowledge it before shutting it down.
Itipad carefully, ilinsay.
It's nice to hear from you, but I'm in a committed relationship now and I won't be talking with you. I hope you understand. I thought that would be the end of it. I was so wrong. My phone buzzed again almost immediately. This time it wasn't a text. It was a photo notification from Instagram, an app one barely used anymore. I'd only kept my old account because I'd forgotten to delete it. The image that popped up made my blood run cold. It was Lindsay, posed in lingerie I definitely didn't remember her owning. Before I could even process what was happening, another photo came through, then another. What the hell? I whispered, careful not to wake Sarah. My hands were actually shaking as I quickly typed back, Lindsay, stop this right now. This is completely inappropriate. I'm blocking you and I don't want you to contact me again. I immediately blocked her number and her Instagram account, my heart pounding with anger and panic. This was exactly the kind of drama I'd left behind when I started dating Sarah. Lindsay had always been impulsive, but this was crossing every possible line. I glanced over at Sarah's sleeping form, her face so peaceful and trusting in the moonlight streaming through our bedroom window. Should I wake her up and tell her what just happened? I wrestled with the decision for several minutes before deciding it could wait until morning. After all, I'd handled it the right way, hadn't I? I'd shut Lindsay down immediately and blocked her. There was nothing more to the story. As I finally drifted off to sleep, I had no idea that Lindsay was just getting started. Hashtag the day my world exploded Tuesday started like any other day. My alarm went off at 6 a.m. and I quietly got ready for work while Sarah slept in. She didn't have to be at her marketing job until 9. I left her a note on the kitchen counter next to her coffee mug, just like I did every morning. Good morning, beautiful. Love you more than yesterday. Jay, the morning flew by in a blur of meetings and emails. I work as a project manager for a construction company, and we were in the middle of this demanding commercial build that required my full attention. By the time lunch rolled around, I'd completely forgotten about Lindsay's inappropriate messages from the night before. I was just biting into my sandwich when my phone exploded with an incoming call from Sarah. Her contact photo, this silly selfie of her making bunny ears behind my head, filled the screen, and I smiled as I answered. Hey babe, are you cheating on me? Sarah's voice was so loud and so filled with rage that I actually pulled the phone away from my ear. Several of my coworkers looked up from their own lunches, eyebrows raised. What? Sarah, what are you talking about? I stepped outside into the parking lot, my heart immediately racing. I'm not cheating on you. Why would you even think that? Lindsay called me Jake. Sarah was crying now, her words coming out in harsh, broken sobs. She told me everything. She said you two have been talking for months. She said you've been having some kind of online affair. I felt like the ground had just disappeared beneath my feet. Sarah, that's not true. Listen to me. She had screenshots, Jake. Screenshots of you asking her to send you pictures. She said she couldn't take the guilt anymore and had to tell me the truth. That's impossible. I was practically shouting now, drawing stares from people walking to their cars. I blocked her last night after she sent me some inappropriate photos that I never asked for. I was going to tell you about it when I got home. But Sarah wasn't listening. She was sobbing so hard she could barely speak. She said you made her promise to delete your replies so there wouldn't be any evidence. She said that's why there are no messages from you in the screenshots. God, Jake, how could you do this to me? How could you do this to us? Sarah, please, you have to believe me. The line went dead. I stared at my phone in absolute disbelief. My sandwich forgotten on the hood of my car. This couldn't be happening. This had to be some kind of nightmare. I immediately tried calling Sarah back, but it went straight to voicemail. I tried texting her, explaining what had really happened the night before, but the messages showed as delivered but not read. I spent the rest of my workday in a complete daze, mechanically going through the motions while my mind raced with panic and disbelief. How had Lindsay even gotten Sarah's phone number? More importantly, how had she managed to create such an elaborate lie that Sarah actually believed it? By the time Jake got home that evening, he had worked himself into a state of nervous energy that made his hands shake as he unlocked their apartment door. Sarah's car was in the parking lot, which gave him hope that they could sit down and work this out like adults. Sarah? He called out as he entered. Babe, we need to talk. She was sitting on their couch, the same couch where they'd cuddled and watched movies just 2 nights ago. But now she looked like a completely different person. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. Her usually perfectly styled blonde hair was messy, and she was clutching her phone like it was a lifeline. Show me, she said without looking up at him. Her voice was hoarse and flat. Show you what? Your phone. Show me everything. Jake immediately pulled out his phone and sat down next to her, though she scooted away from him like he had some kind of contagious disease. Okay, look, here are the text messages from last night. He showed her the brief exchange, Lindsay's initial message, his polite but firm rejection, and then his angry response to the inappropriate photos. Then he opened Instagram and showed her Lindsay's blocked account. See, I blocked her immediately. I never asked for those pictures, and I certainly never had any kind of ongoing conversation with her. Sarah scrolled through everything with the intensity of a detective examining evidence. She checked his text messages, his Instagram DMs, his Facebook messages, even his email. For a moment, Jake thought he saw doubt creeping into her expression. What about other apps? She asked. Snapchat? WhatsApp? Some app one don't know about. Sarah, I don't have any other messaging apps. You know that. Look through my entire phone if you want to. Jake handed her his unlocked phone. I have nothing to hide from you. She spent the next hour going through every app, every photo, every email. Jake sat there patiently, understanding her need to verify his story, but also feeling increasingly frustrated that she was even questioning him in the first place. After 3 years together, didn't she know him better than this? Finally, Sarah set his phone down on the coffee table and looked at him with eyes still filled with suspicion. Lindsay seemed really genuine when she called me, she said quietly. She was crying. She said she felt terrible about what you two had been doing behind my back, but that she couldn't live with the guilt anymore. Sarah, think about this logically, Jake said, trying to keep his voice calm and reasonable. Why would Lindsay contact you if we were actually having an affair? What would she gain from that? And why would I be stupid enough to ask her to send me pictures through an app where there would be screenshots? She said she was hoping I would break up with you so she could have you back. Jake stared at her in disbelief. And that doesn't sound like manipulation to you? Sarah was quiet for a long moment, clearly wrestling with conflicting emotions. Jake could see the internal battle playing out across her face, the evidence of his innocence warring with whatever convincing performance Lindsay had put on during their phone call. I don't know what to believe anymore, Sarah finally whispered. I need some space to think. I'm going to stay at Emma's for a few days. Emma was Sarah's best friend since college, and while Jake normally liked her, he had a feeling she was going to spend the next few days poisoning Sarah against him even further. Sarah, please don't go, Jake said, reaching for her hand. She pulled away from his touch like it burned. We can work through this. We've been together for 3 years. Doesn't that count for something? That's exactly why this hurts so much, she said, standing up and grabbing the overnight bag she'd apparently already packed. 3 years, Jake. I thought we were solid. I thought we were going to get married and have babies and grow old together. And now I find out you've been talking to your ex behind my back this whole time. I haven't been talking to her. Jake's voice cracked with frustration. Sarah, you're letting Lindsay win. Can't you see that? She's manipulating you. But Sarah was already walking toward the door, her overnight bag slung over her shoulder. She paused with her hand on the doorknob and turned back to look at him. If you really are innocent, then I'm sorry, she said, tears streaming down her face again. But I can't be with someone I don't trust. And right now, I don't trust you. The sound of the door closing behind her was the loudest thing Jake had ever heard. Jake spent that night pacing their apartment like a caged animal. The silence was deafening. Every corner held memories of Sarah, her favorite coffee mug in the sink, her romance novels stacked on the nightstand, her yoga mat rolled up in the corner of the living room. The engagement ring hidden in his sock drawer felt like it was mocking him. He tried calling her multiple times, but every call went straight to voicemail. He sent several text messages explaining the situation again, pleading with her to listen to reason, but they showed as delivered but unread. Around midnight, he found himself Googling Lindsay's name, trying to find some trace of her current social media presence that might give him insight into why she was doing this. Her Facebook and Instagram profiles had been set to private years ago, but he managed to find a LinkedIn profile that showed she was working as a real estate agent in Austin, only 3 hours away from Dallas. Jake spent hours crafting the perfect text message to send to Sarah. He wrote and rewrote it dozens of times, trying to find the right combination of words that would make her see reason without sounding desperate or manipulative himself. Finally, around 2 a.m., he settled on, Sarah, I love you more than I've ever loved anyone in my life. I know this situation looks bad, but I swear on my mother's grave that I have never betrayed you. Lindsay is lying, and I think if you really examine her motives, you'll see that too. I'm sorry for how I reacted earlier. I was just scared of losing you. Please come home so we can talk about this like the partners we've always been. I miss you already. He hit send and immediately felt a mixture of relief and anxiety. It was honest, it was heartfelt, and it acknowledged his own poor reaction earlier without admitting to something he hadn't done. Then he waited. Jake barely slept that night, jumping every time his phone made even the slightest sound. But morning came without any response from Sarah. He dragged himself to work, operating on pure adrenaline and coffee, but found it impossible to concentrate on anything. Around 10 a.m., his phone finally buzzed with a text from Sarah. Can I call you? Are you somewhere private? Jake's heart leaped with hope. He immediately stepped outside into the parking lot and called her back. Thank God you want to talk, he said as soon as she answered. Sarah, I've been going crazy. Jake, stop, Sarah interrupted, her voice strangely calm. I need to tell you something, and I need you to just listen, okay? Something in her tone made Jake's stomach drop. This didn't sound like the voice of someone who had realized she'd made a mistake. This sounded like someone who was about to deliver bad news. Okay, he said quietly. Sarah took a deep breath. Last year, around this time actually, I downloaded Tinder. The words hit Jake like a physical blow. What? I was feeling, I don't know, restless, I guess. Like maybe I was missing out on something by being in such a serious relationship so young. You were working late a lot on that office building project, and I was lonely and I made a really stupid decision. Jake felt like he was drowning. Sarah, what are you saying? I matched with a few guys. Most of it was just chatting, but there were 2 guys that I had longer conversations with. We exchanged pictures. Some of them were inappropriate. We had video calls a few times. Jake had to sit down on the curb because his legs suddenly felt like they couldn't support him. You cheated on me. I never met up with anyone in person, Sarah said quickly. It was all online. But yes, I guess technically I cheated on you. It went on for about 3 months before I realized how stupid I was being and deleted the app. 3 months? Jake repeated numbly. When Lindsay called me yesterday and told me about you too, I projected my own guilt onto the situation. I assumed you were doing the same thing I had done. That's why I was so quick to believe her and so angry with you. Jake sat there in stunned silence, trying to process what he was hearing. The woman he'd been planning to propose to had been having online affairs with multiple men for 3 months, and she'd only confessed because she'd falsely accused him of doing the same thing. Jake, are you still there? I'm here, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I think we need to take a break, Sarah continued. At least 3 months, maybe longer. We both need time to figure out what we really want. What you need to figure out, Jake corrected her. I already know what I want. I want the relationship I thought we had. I'm coming to get my stuff today while you're at work, Sarah said, ignoring his comment. I think it's better if we don't see each other for a while. Sarah, wait. But the line was already dead. I told my boss I was sick and left work immediately. The drive home was a blur of rage, heartbreak, and disbelief. 3 years of his life gone.